All right, what is going on YouTube? Welcome back. Majestic here today, bringing you another video. And today we'll be talking about Bethesda's spin on a relic from the past, and that is of course Doom 4 or Doom 2016, whichever you guys want to call it. Now before we begin this video today, warning, it could contain spoilers. Guys, I know this is a casual review and I try to avoid spoilers as much as I can, but sometimes it's just almost impossible to do, just because what I think is not a spoiler, you guys might think is something being spoiled, and I don't want to do that. So just in case, it will contain some spoilers. If you guys don't want to watch, please leave the video right now. But if you guys just don't care and you want to hear what I have to say, then please continue watching. We'll get into the review today. So there's 4 things I want to talk about today throughout this whole review of Doom, usually how I break it down. My first impressions on the game, the first thing I really want to talk about is graphics. Every time I play a game, it has to look visually appealing to me. Doesn't necessarily mean that the graphics have to be good, but it has to look something like I have to be interested in playing, I guess you can say. And Doom definitely does a great job with that. The way they design Mars is absolutely beautiful. The map looks like a red desert planet. You can actually see the skies and the stars and things when you walk outside. Of course, the facility that you're in is very big. It has multiple areas which are very cool. The Foundry, the Lazarus Pits, every other map that you go into throughout the game. It's very well designed and it looks phenomenal. I think they did a great job with the level design. It also keeps that horror feel of Doom, I guess you can say. We have like dead bodies everywhere, low lighting in certain rooms that are completely pitch black, you know, lights flashing with blood on the wall with messages. They did a great job keeping that Doom horror feel that Doom has. So I think they did great. I think Doom looks phenomenal in that sense. The next thing I want to talk about is enemies. Now, the enemies in the game are very timid at first. I guess you can say they're very small. You can actually end up one-shotting them or executing them by pressing R on your thumbstick where you walk up and like break their neck. It's really cool. They're very tame at first, and of course later on throughout the game they get a little harder. You start getting some foot soldiers that take more damage. Then you end up actually getting, like, I guess you can say small bosses, but they're not bosses, like the Mancubus, the Revenant, Barons of Hell, these demons that you fight throughout the game, which they kind of get a little harder to kill over time. So that's really cool. Now, the only problem I don't like about the enemies is that you meet most of them 40% in the game. Actually, you meet all of them pretty early. And that's what causes a little bit of repetitiveness, which I'll get into later. But yeah, you meet most of the enemies about, I want to say, like 40 to 50%, not even halfway. It's definitely less than half. So all the enemies that you're looking forward to, because when you progress to the game, you're like, oh, I want to see more enemies. I want to see more enemies. But Doom doesn't really give you that feel. You actually meet all of them pretty early. And after that, you'll fight other versions of them, like upgraded versions, like cybernetic versions of this enemy. But it's just more health. There's not really anything to do. Not new attack patterns, not, you know, anything crazy. It's really just the same thing. So that's a little thing that's kind of bummed me out about Doom. I just didn't like the idea of meeting things so early in the game, but it is what it is. Next thing I want to talk about is weapons. The weapons are phenomenal. The super shotgun has never looked better. I think the super shotgun is a phenomenal weapon. It's actually one of my favorite weapons throughout the whole entire game. The weapons look great, and there's so many different variety of weapons. Not only do you have your super shotgun, you have your combat shotgun, you have your plasma rifle, your pulse rifle, minigun, pulse rifle, I think I said pulse rifle, minigun, assault rifle, and of course what is Doom without the legendary and lovely BFG, or if you guys do not know, big fucking gun. And they did a great job. The weapon roster is really cool, and I think the idea of weapons are really sick as well. How they did it was, of course, you find your weapons early on. You can actually find most of them. I'd say about 40 to 50% through the game. You can actually get every weapon in the game. And the cool thing is throughout the game, you actually have the ability to level them up along with your suit by finding, of course, weapon upgrades and these things called Predator tokens, which upgrade your suit. You know, you can get damage resistant, find secrets on the map, and things like that with your suit. And then weapon upgrades, you can get, like, you know, auto aim, or rockets that shoot out of the assault rifle, or minigun where you don't have to hold down the trigger, it automatically spins, or dual miniguns where it splits apart and shoots 2 miniguns at the same time. I mean, the upgrades and possibilities are really fucking crazy. And I think it's cool. I think that the weapon upgrades are very fascinating. I think they're really well done. But what really gets me about Doom is how well they incorporated it into the combat system. When you're actually playing against demons and you need to switch weapons, normally in a game you press Y or something like that to switch between 1 or 2 weapons in combat, or like Gears of War, you use the D-pad to switch. They actually have a weapon wheel which you press RB. And when you press RB to pull up this weapon wheel, it actually slows down the game. And it actually gives you time to select weapons without taking damage, which is really cool. And it's not like super slow-mo, but it definitely is pretty slow. Like, you can't take damage if you hold it long enough, but it only gives you like 1 or 2 seconds to choose your weapon, which is plenty of time. You can actually go and continue shooting and blowing this shit up. So I think that's really cool how they did that. Another thing that I like is how you can actually change your upgrade during mid-battle by pressing up on the D-pad. If you buy, each weapon gets 2 upgrades. If you need to switch between both upgrades, you just press D on the D-pad. You can do this in mid-combat while walking or whatever, and he'll actually go ahead and switch out to the upgrade that you prefer. So you can actually switch upgrades during combat. That to me is very, very, very sick. I love that. I think that's phenomenal that they did that. I just love how the weapon system is really designed in Doom. Now, another thing that I want to talk about are things that kind of make me upset, I guess you can say, about weapons. The first thing is that I love the fact that you get all the weapons early on, which is cool. But there's only one weapon that you get later on, which annoys me, and that's the BFG. And by the time you get the big fucking gun, all your weapons are mostly upgraded, or the weapons you use most are mostly upgraded, and you're already killing hordes of demons. So basically, the BFG is pretty much useless. Now, don't get me wrong, it's a super strong gun. When you switch to it, you shoot it at waves that actually one-shots every demon. But in a lot of occasions, I found myself not switching to it. And the reason why is because, one, it's not on the weapon wheel. It's actually switched by pressing Y or triangle on whatever controller that you're playing. So it's actually switched by pressing Y. And a lot of times, I just completely forgot about it, or I was already bodying hordes of demons that I just didn't even use it. So to me, the BFG kind of came worthless at the time you got it. I wish they would have made it a little earlier in the game where you got it, but unfortunately it is, like, I would say probably towards the last 3 or 4 missions of the game you actually pick up the BFG. So by the time you get it, it's pretty much useless. But when you want to use it, it does wipe out hordes of demons, and it's a pretty sick gun. So that's the thing for me about the BFG, or the weapons, that I just didn't like. Another thing that I didn't like about the weapons, even though the combat and things are very fast and it's very balanced, how some weapons share ammo. I didn't like that at all. I didn't like that. Like, for instance, it kind of has a group of ammos. Like, for instance, if you're using the combat shotgun and the super shotgun, they share ammo. Plasma rifle and the pulse rifle share ammo. Minigun and assault rifle share ammo. So, the only gun that actually has its own separate ammo, of course, is the big fucking gun. But every other gun, if it's like similar, like a shotgun of some sort, it shares ammo with other shotguns. That, to me, I did not like, because I like to use the super shotgun. I like to use the combat shotgun because they both have their own different, I guess you can say, abilities. And to me, that just sucked. I hated that. I just was not a big fan of that. And that was just such a bummer for me. I wish each gun had its own separate ammo, but of course I kind of understand where they're coming from, the saves and space and things like that, so you're not picking up 50 different ammo types throughout the game. But it still was just a bummer for me. I just didn't like that at all. The next thing I want to talk about is what everybody probably wants me to talk about, is the boss fights. Doom does have a variety of bosses. There's actually 3, and they're all different in their unique way. The first one that you fight, of course, is the Cybernetic Demon. It's basically a cybernetic version of the Baron of Hell. He has rockets and things like that. The boss fight's really cool. It's in a big-ass arena, and it actually goes to 2 different stages. One where you're actually fighting, I guess you can say, in the Foundry, and then it actually takes you to Hell. So it's really cool. The arena is really big. There's ammo. How you fight him is cool. It does take a certain pattern. You can't go in there guns blazing. You actually have to take your time and things. So I think they did really good on that one. The next one is the Gatekeepers, or the Hellhounds, or whatever you want to call it. That one's really cool. It is a 2-stage boss fight. You end up fighting one by itself, and you end up fighting 2 at the same time. That one's really cool. I think it's neat. It definitely gives the player a little bit of a challenge. And then the last one you fight is the Spider Mastermind, which is, of course, the ending boss. And basically it's just a big ass spider that you have to do some strategy. There's pillars you have to stand on and things like that. So when it comes down to the bosses, I think they're all well designed. I'm not going to go into full detail about the boss fights and why they're there. Like I said, I'm not trying to spoil this for anybody. There are boss fights, like I said, and the boss fights are very interesting. And I actually did enjoy them. The only thing I wish that could have been different, maybe it's just because of the difficulty that I played the game on, is challenging. I think each boss I died one time on my full playthrough, maybe twice out of the whole boss fights. And I remember Doom bosses being a whole lot harder than that. Especially Doom 3, the final boss where you had to use unless you got the cube, was like super hard. And I just didn't think they were that challenging. I wish they were more. But like I said, it could have just been the difficulty I'm playing on. Maybe I need to go back and play it on harder than hell or whatever the boss fight is, and like nightmare or whatever. But as a normal, they just weren't that tough. And like I said, it just because it could have been just the difficulty I was on. But I feel like there could have been more challenge. And once you get the power, I guess you can say the rhythm down to the boss and how it kind of functions, then the boss fight becomes so much easier. I wish that maybe what they could have done is give the boss fights more of an attack pattern. For instance, once they get down to 50% health, then maybe their moves change completely different. I thought that would have been a cool idea, but unfortunately it didn't. Even throughout the whole boss fight, it does the same moves over and over and over, and eventually it gets repetitive. Once I was saying earlier with the monsters, most of them get repetitive throughout the game, and then you get it down and the bosses just become cake. That's how it was to me. That kind of bugged me. I wish, like I said, they had a different attack pattern. They got harder with lower health, but unfortunately that's not the case. Next thing I want to talk about is I wish there was more bosses. That's another thing that kind of disappointed me. There's only 3 bosses and you don't fight them until literally the last 3 chapters of the game. So 75% of the game is literally hordes and hordes of demons that you fight over and over and over again, which get repetitive about 40% through, like I said earlier. So that's a huge problem for me. I wish Doom had more bosses. I mean, it's only 16 chapters long, and for a game that's 16 chapters long, I wish it would have had more boss fights. That hurts. I mean, if it's going to be a game that's 16 chapters long, which if you guys don't find the secrets or anything, you can probably beat this game in less than 8 hours. That's how short it is. I would say 8 probably tops. So if you spend the whole day playing it from the time you wake up till you go to bed, you can clear this game. And if you're really good at it, you can probably clear it faster than that if you really just want to speed through it and not get the weapons or nothing. But literally 8 hours tops. So if you have 16 missions in the game, I feel like we should have a boss each and every mission. So by the time you already get to the end of the game, which is about 75% through, you kill these hordes of demons over and over, you're already about done with it. Like, you're just like, I'm done, I don't even care anymore. That's how I felt. Like, I just don't care. And then I started fighting bosses. Oh, this is cool. And then of course, you know, the bosses kind of, I see what they did. They kind of like made you fight all of it until you wanted to give up. And then you fight bosses, which makes the game a little bit smoother. But at the time, I feel like we should have just had a boss each and every stage, because by the time I got there, I was already fucking sick of it. I was like, oh god, we have another horde of demon. What else is new? You know, you're not getting any new weapons. You already have all the weapons you have. You know, you're not seeing any new demons. So it was kind of just repetitive for me. I just wish that they had more bosses. That's the only thing I hate about the bosses. One, the attack patterns are kind of the same. They're very easy to master. And 2, there's not that many of them. There's only 3. So that was only the bummer with the bosses for me. I just didn't feel like we should have more. For a game that has 16 stages that are pretty easy to clear within 30 minutes apiece, definitely should have a boss every stage. Is just how I feel. Last thing I want to talk about is the multiplayer. Doom multiplayer is very interesting. A lot of people hated it, but I personally thought it was very interesting as a multiplayer. Of course, there's different game modes. You have like your capture game mode, you have your team deathmatch game modes and things like that. Of course, you have your weapons. You can actually choose between 2 weapons. You have your secondary and first. You also have to choose between grenades, such as a siphon grenade or frag grenades, and things like that. And of course, you basically just run around killing each other. It's very fast. It's very fast paced. The maps are really well designed. I guess you can say they're very big. Also, like your pulse rifles and your BFGs, and things like that. They'll actually pick up weapons. You actually can't switch to those. You actually have to pick them up on the map, which is really cool. And they basically one-shot people. They're literally a one-shot. They kill anything in one shot. Which is cool. You also get power-ups in the game as well, such as your berserker powers, your quad damage and things like that, which of course give you a damage buff or whatever. Or haste, makes you move faster and things. You actually pick those up during the maps, which is cool. So it's very laid out. The game types are pretty cool. You're basically your simple game types that you find in most FPSs, such as your capture the flag game mode, your team deathmatch game mode, your team match game mode, protect the leader, whatever. All those game modes are there. The really thing that I think is super cool about the Doom multiplayer is the ability to turn into monsters. You actually can turn into monsters that you face throughout the game, like the Revenant, the Mancubus, and things like that, Baron of Hell. you can actually turn into these things called picking up a demon rune in game. And once you pick the demon rune up, you actually become the monster for until you die or forever along the seconds are there. And then once it runs out, another team member can pick it up or the enemy team can pick it up. So you always have like a monster that you have to fight on your team. So I think they did a really good job with the multiplayer. Like I said, I was very impressed with it. Playing it, I played it for a long time. I think I'm like level 55. Eventually I did stop playing it just because once again it got repetitive very quick. Just because not only like it wasn't the game modes, but just as a first-person shooters, most first-person shooters are very repetitive. Even though Doom does have a prestige mode where you can prestige yourself and reset it, but there's not really any. I mean, you can create your own camos and characters and things like that. So it is kind of like most first-person shooters, but once again, it just gets very repetitive. Now the DLC just came out recently as I'm doing this review, guys, so I don't know what the DLC contains. Like I said, once again, it just came out as I was doing this review, but I'll definitely check it out. Maybe do a follow-up review on it, kind of give my overall thoughts and opinions on it. Maybe we'll see. But anyway, like I said, Doom 2016 was not a bad game. Like I said, everything about it, I loved a lot of things about it. The only problem is with this game that kind of ruined it for me and kind of brought it down on its level was the repetitiveness. Like I said, it's just had so much potential to be so much better. And like I said, DLC's coming out, which might make the game so much more better. Maybe add more story missions or more DLC for multiplayer or whatever, which is fine. But as of now, it was too short and it was way too repetitive to be that short. If it's 16 chapters, the game should have so much more content. Every mission should be something new if it's only 16 chapters. Unfortunately, that's not the case with Doom. So overall, Doom 2016 gets a 7 out of 10 for my casual review. Anyway, guys, if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like and subscribe. I will do casual reviews on more games that I will play later on down the road. I'm waiting for people to give me suggestions. Please hit me up on Twitter at Majestic Jester and tell me what kind of games you guys want me to play and review. I would love to take a fan shout out for a game or whatever. Definitely check it out. Anyway, guys, this is my overall review. Please leave in the comment section also what you guys think about the game and what other game would you like for me to review or other games to play and review. Anyway, my name is Majestic and I'll see you guys in another video very shortly.